Brave Nation, it's the Roaring Lion, Carlos Kremer. Welcome to the Lion's Den, where I have none other than my man, Shorty Torres, who is fighting in the greatest flyweight tournament in the history of mixed martial arts. This Thursday, Combat Kingdom, the magnificent Kingdom of Bahrain, Arid Fort, the historic fort. How excited are you for this big fight? And tell us about the last-minute switch of opponents and how that's affected you.
You know, it's crazy because I just saw the fort and how it was being made. They just posted on Twitter, and Zach Mikowski, which I follow, part of the flyweight tournament, shared it, and I watched this thing. I was like, man, this is really epic. I haven't been to any of the fights because we're in a little bubble right now.
Right.
And I've been in Bahrain for probably about 3 weeks since the beginning of March, and getting ready for this fight with Sean Santella. So the backstory of why I'm here so early, originally I was supposed to fight April 1st. Signed the contract, everything was good, and I guess there was a miscommunication between Sean and his manager. His manager was just saying, like, yeah, we'll take the fight April 1st. And Sean's like, hey, man, I have a gym that I run with fighters that I have fighting April 2nd and 3rd back in the States. I can't just take a fight and be like, good luck, guys. You know, you do your own thing without a coach. So he's like, I need to fight March 25th. Shorty, can you do it? For me, I have other fighters in my team, Tyron Woodley and Julian Robertson, fighting March 27th. So Dean Thomas, my head coach, was already obligated for that first come, first serve. So I was like, oh, man, I'm not going to have a coach again. I came already to fight Sean once. I had my nutritionist on the side, Nutrition, which, again, phenomenal guy. But, you know, when it comes to jiu-jitsu, you just hear in the background, like, don't give up. You know, it doesn't really, doesn't really help me. So
shout out to Lou, by the way.
Stay hydrated
Amazing.
while you're down there. I don't, you know, so it's one of those things that I wanted to come prepared. And I've been training since, you know, the fight in September. They told us we're going to fight in December, then January, and then, you know, just COVID kept on backtracking things because of travel restrictions. There's a travel ban against the United States and Europe, Russia, and different countries. So we're very limited. So when I talked to Brave, I was like, I want to have a coach there. I need April 1st. They're like, well, if Sean can't do it, the next event is more than likely after Ramadan. And then with that, we don't know. It's not going to be in Bahrain. We don't know if that country is going to allow Americans. We don't know how COVID's going to play out. Maybe there's a resurgence of COVID, you know, the different strands and this and that. So it's like, man, I kind of have to take the opportunity to have it. And Dean is like, you've been training. You just have to push the weight cut a week before. Just, you know, stay mentally strong. You're going to be out there by yourself. He knows me as a very big extrovert. So he's like, I'll call you every day. We'll figure things out. Just make sure you're mentally strong. And I was like, you know what? I have a super lightweight champion, part of KHKMMA, Eldar off here. Again, he's trained with Khabib's father, and he has a bunch of accolades in his own, you know, pedigree. And I've trained with him before as an original member of KHKMMA in 2015. So it's like, let me rekindle that relationship again. Let me rekindle that bond and kind of get back in sync of he already knows what I do.
Right.
Let me just kind of remind him a little bit, and then he can work with me back and forth. Also training with Mohamed Mokaev and other KHK members. And Mokaev being another two-time world champ like myself, being 20 years old. One, that kid is freakishly talented at 20 years old. But me being, you know, a little older, a little more experienced, I get to work with him, and then him having that youth of kind of giving that drive to me again. You know, being at the prime of my career, it's like you lose a little motivation. So seeing him, it's like, man, that was me back then. I can do this too. He looks up to me. I'm looking up to him because of the motivation. So it's, and he wants to be as good as I am, if not, and he's going to be that much better. So, you know, being here for these 3 weeks has been, you know, rejuvenating. And everything, you know, you get bumps and bruises and all that stuff, and training with guys has been awesome. A whole different, like, Dagestani type of team, you know, which is again, these guys here are phenomenal. Sheikh Khalid takes care of everyone. You know, everyone is pretty much getting paid to train. Don't have to worry about this and that. So it reminds me of the old KHKMMA days. So it was awesome. It's been fun here. Even alone in the hotel, being an extrovert, I'm able to hang out Axel, Mokaev, Eldar, you know, Renat, all the coaches, Rodrigo, and everyone else. But then, you know, 2 weeks out, usually I stop training. And my training was also being hindered because I do cut so much weight. I mean, in the States, I know we use a different metric system, but I weigh about 160 naturally. And this is me, you know, being a little fat and not working out as much, but maybe about 155, so it's about 70 kilograms. You know, so I cut all the way down to 57 kg, you know, 125 pounds of flyweight limit. I have to take some time to really bring myself down. So 3 weeks out, now my practices are starting to be hindered a little bit. I'm not as motivated. You know, your mental state starts to get, you know, manipulated a little bit. And then 2 weeks out, I stop because I know in sparring, I'm so tired that I don't want to just be out there like this with my hands up, and now I'm getting beat up by people I shouldn't get beat up by. So 2 weeks, I'm cutting this weight down to 57 kg. And then I believe 10 days out, they go, hey, Sean's out. I'm like, what do you mean Sean's out there? Like, oh, they say he broke something, but I know he's at like 60%. He's just not confident about this fight, of how his body is. He needs to go to the hospital, all that stuff. And I've looked at his stories. I've contacted him. He's been to the hospital, doctors in and out. So, you know, it's part of the game. It's part of life. You know?
And we wish him all the best in a speedy
For sure.
recovery.
And I owe you the rematch. Sadly, it'll be after the tournament, but I owe you the rematch. And, you know, I have a bone to pick. We want to see who is the best Shorty. Again, I think for both of us, mentally, we shouldn't have gone to a draw. One of us should have won. And I started too slow, and he should have solidified some submissions. So for us, there were things to work on for this fight. And for him being a great jiu-jitsu fighter, my mindset has been jiu-jitsu. You know, I don't need to work at the stand-up because I knew he wasn't going to go, oh, hey, maybe in the next fight I should stand and bang with him. That would have been great, but I highly doubt it. So my whole base has been jiu-jitsu for this fight. Given I've been traveling and training, doing different things, and sparring with everyone because that's just what I'm used to, and I love to spar and train, but it's been jiu-jitsu oriented. So when he backed out, they're like, we're going to find you a last-minute opponent. For me, I do have my mental issues where, like, if I don't have a fight, let me know because I'll start eating. I'm tired. At the time, I believe I weighed 60 kilograms. So I was very close to 57 kg. You know, I'm only about 6 pounds, 7 pounds over. So I'm like, I'm right there. You got to let me know 10 days out because if I can do anything, if I'm not fighting, I'm going to indulge because I'm in pain trying to sleep. And then they go, hey, we have this Kazakhstani guy that might fight you. Okay, another whole day passes. He says, no, it's just too last minute to make flyweight. I was like, guys, I'll take a catch weight. I'll take, 60. I'll take 61, whatever the case may be. Like, help me out here. I just need the fight. 1, for money. 2, to advance in this tournament. And 3, I'm 28. I'm in my prime. I need to fight.
Right.
You know, I also train in Florida, and Chicago's hours away from it. Again, you're in California. You understand the time difference of I'm away from my family. I'm away from home. You know, my mother's alone at the house. My brother's alone with his family and doing things. And I have other business things that I want to do at home in Chicago. But I train and spend most of my life down in Florida because I'm ready to fight. Sadly, COVID happens, and now this, my opponent backing out, it's like, am I going to have an opponent? And then they told me about Blaine O'Driscoll, and they go, you can either fight him March 25th at 61, or you can fight him April 1st at 57. And I go, 61. And I go, why? Well, 1, I don't have to cut weight, so that's awesome. And then 2, I don't want a handicap. You know, if he says he's been training, he wants to take the fight at 61, I'm more than happy about that. I'll fight anyone at any weight class because I know I'm confidently going in there going, I can beat anyone. I don't care if it's at 57, 61, or 66, which is 145 pounds, the featherweight. I'll fight anyone. I'm more than happy to do so. So when they said 61, I go, I don't want to give him any type of handicap of going, he's trying to cut this weight for 57. It's a great opportunity for the flyweight tournament. And I don't want him to possibly get injured leading up to this fight. I want him feeling as great as possible to say there are no excuses for both of us, and I beat him at his best, or he beats me at my best. Whether I'm bumping up in weight class for him, or he's stably going down to 61 and being there, and now entering the flyweight tournament, and Brave understands that because it is such a last-minute fight, that it is still part of the tournament. Sadly, again, Sean is out and won't be involved in this until after the tournament's over, and then he can have maybe a title shot. But until then, you know, I have Blaine O'Driscoll, and he is a pressure fighter. It's a very different thing. Again, I'm used to this ground fight. This is all I've been working with, especially my last opponent, Amir Albazi, was the same exact way. He was a guy who wanted to take me down and keep this fight on the ground. For me, I want to stand and bang. I'm a pressure fighter. Blaine O'Driscoll is the same exact thing. So this is a firework type of fight. You know, in his other fights in different promotions, he just walks forward, given he does have submission wins, so you know he's good on the ground. Yes, he's been the one being taken down, but he's the one reversing, taking their back, and solidifying the choke and submission. So
Rear
it's like,
naked chokes.
he's a very dangerous guy. And for me, again, everyone thinks, oh, you've been training, you've been ready. Yeah, but for one style, for one opponent, and studying those nuances over and over and over again. You know, it's like you see some of the best in the world, they're ready because they know they have something in front of them. Now you change it up, now it's a different game plan. So there's no physical training for this fight. It's the mental training of going, this is what I need to do, these are the 3 steps possibly to victory, and then making sure I'm mentally stable enough, 1 with the weight cut, 2 with the fight, and 3 overall with the opponent the day of. So I'm excited.
You know, and let's say this for Brave Nation as well. You could have taken a bye and moved on in the tournament, but that's not how you're built. That's not the kind of man Shorty Torres is. And let me say, for Brave Nation, Blaine is coming from SPG Ireland, and world famous head coach John Kavanagh. He is always ready, and we've got to give him huge props for stepping up like this. Did a part of you say, man, I really wanted Shorty Rock again to prove to the world who the better Shorty was? Or has that hit you yet and you're just now thankful and grateful that you have a fight?
Well, I'm always thankful and grateful that I have a fight, especially because, again, I sacrificed a lot of my life to fight. You know, if you don't have a fight, it's like, damn, what am I doing this for? I'm not getting paid. I'm sacrificing time, which I'm not going to get back.
And you've had some inactivity for a little while, for the first time really in your career.
Yeah, right? a year and a half before I fought Sean, and then now 6 months, again, to possibly fight Sean, it doesn't happen. For me, going in with a draw, I've never had a draw in my life. You know, I've had split decisions, I've had majority, I've had unanimous, and obviously finishes. But for me, I want to solidify a win or a loss. In general, as an athlete, I'm very, very prideful. So when they told me, hey, you have this last-minute opportunity to have a different opponent, to fight Blaine O'Driscoll, it's like, yes, I just want to fight. I don't care who it is. I don't care if I have a training camp or not. I'll go in there and scrap. And I know Blaine's the same way, obviously going against me, a guy with a resume, a guy who's been training for somebody specific, giving us a different game plan. And I know he has his game plan against me, but there's no physical training for both of us. So I believe it makes it an even fight. With Sean, hopefully, you know, after the tournament's over, possibly by the end of the year, I get that rematch. Just as a prideful individual, I want to solidify that win. I want to solidify that I am one of the best flyweights in the world. And hopefully, if everything goes well, you know, knock on wood, if there's any wood, you guys in the back, please, is I win this tournament, and then my first opponent can be Sean, because he is right in line of going, I went the distance to this guy. He didn't finish me. I almost finished him multiple times, and we were already ready to rematch. Right. So I have a bone to pick with him. But Blaine O'Driscoll's next, and then possibly the toughest fight of my entire career coming up next, which is possibly Ali and Dustin. But I can't look forward to that. I have to look forward to Blaine first and then move on to the next best thing. But overall, you know, John Kavanagh is a phenomenal coach. I've trained with him before when we originally had Cage MMA, James Gallagher, Franz Malambo. So they know me very well. They know my style. Yes, that was 6 years ago. But the styles don't really change. You know, techniques and things get better, but the style originally kind of stays the same. So they know what's coming up next, and I know he's going to have a great game plan. And it's my job, and it's especially my coach's jobs back at home, calling me and letting me know these are the things you should do. Watch out for what he might do next, and just be ready for everything.
And the world is really benefiting from this as well, because the flyweights are one of the most exciting members of the entire organization to watch. I mean, talented, athletic, right? Can do anything, stamina forever. How did this camp for you? We had talked about some mental health challenges that you know everyone has, as whether they admit it or not. And you've been very vocal in coming out with that and saying, you know, I've experienced some of that, especially after your father's passing. And how has your mental health been for this camp? And has it been? It seems like with Coach Dean Thomas, it's been stronger than ever, and he provides that kind of stability as well.
It's been phenomenal because, you know, going into the Sean Santella fight, mentally, you know, I was supposed to go into the Marcel Dur fight, wasn't mentally stable enough. And then you have Khabib, you know, going in there after his father passes, given he had months until his final fight. But then you look at, you know, I think he had a broken foot, he had mumps, obviously still facing the grief of not having the camp with his father, training in Abu Dhabi and Russia and all these things. And I'm looking at him, and he did exactly what I wanted to do. But he had the mental stability and strength to do that. For me, I didn't. Given, yeah, I had 3 weeks less time, but it's the fact of there's that mental strength. And it's not saying I was mentally weak. I was at that time, but I also didn't know how to handle it any better. This is the first big thing that happened to me. So then I was supposed to fight Sean, fought Sean, and I didn't have my coach with me, which I gave myself a lot more anxiety than what I should have because I didn't have the person in my ear that I wanted. You know, the person that was going to make me comfortable, whether it's Dean Thomas, Master Bob Shermer, or other individuals. I love Louis Giordano, but again, he plays a different field in my training camp. He's not there for fight day specifically. You know, he might be in my corner, but he's silent, you know. So going in there, man, I gave myself too much anxiety. And after the fight, I was like, wow, there's a lot of relief off my shoulders. Now I can finally say I'm happy. And I say that in a very deep extent. Again, you're a military veteran. You understand PTSD. You understand mental health. And you understand there's a lot of people in the world that struggle with different mental disabilities and trying to stay stable. You know, I have a brother at home as well who, you know, faces his depression, his anger through mental trauma with other stuff that's happened in his life as well. I face my things, and we all have our own little demons. And for me, after that fight, I'm like, man, why couldn't this happen 2-3 rounds ago? I would have been perfect. I would have been moving like Muhammad Ali. I would have been comfortable. I would have been smooth. I might have lost still, but mentally I would have been like, hey, you were the better man, compared to in that fight, I felt I held myself back. Same thing with the Marcel Dura fight. My weight cut was going horribly because I mentally kept breaking on myself. And then by the time the fight came, I just didn't want to fight. Right. Same thing when I fought in different promotions. When I fought Alex Perez, the one fight I did lose, I wasn't mentally stable. By the time fight week came and I did so many weight cuts back to back, I was just like, I just want to go home. And it's Monday, but my fight's Saturday. Yeah. And it's like, you're there all week. Why? You're fighting in the Staples Center. You're doing this. And I'm like, I don't care. I just want to go 3-1 in my contract and go home. And they're just like, you're on a 33 fight winning streak. What are you talking about? So there's different mental health, you know, things. And I want to say that I'm not the only one facing it. I know that. Right. But because I have this platform, I want to promote that there is mental health. There is mental health for men as well. You know, and it's something that Dean Thomas, every once in a while, and I know everyone has their father figure, a mentor, he's one of them as well for me, is they tell you those little things, and they have these little nuances that sometimes it's those right moments that they tell you, and you're like, wow, I kind of really needed that. You know, he's like that sitcom father that is not really there, but then when he comes out, he says that really motivational stuff, and then goes back to his room, and you're just sitting there like,
you feel good again.
That's exactly what I needed to hear. This is weird, and I didn't even say anything. So moving into this fight, he knew that, you know, I was going to be alone. And when you're alone, you face your demons. You know, there's all these thoughts in your head because you're by yourself. But then I got to hang out with Eldar Mokaev and hang out with different friends here, get out, be social, and talk about different things, answer questions on Instagram, people calling me, my friends and stuff like that, my family, having my brother here now. There's different things I've been doing to stay mentally strong. And for this fight, even though I'm alone, I have so many people on my side. Again, I have you announcing, I have my brother here, I have Eldar Eller off my corner, I have
it's a true family.
I have a lot of people. I have Sheikh Khalid here supporting me. Yeah. I have so many people here. I have Brave, obviously, hoping that I win, move on to the next round, to, you know, fight, you know, a fantastic fight of two veterans that are, you know, the accolades are way by far mine in the professional realm. So I think the next fight is the scariest fight. And for me, that's exciting, you know? So, you know, the whole mental health aspect is a crazy, crazy thing in the sport, and people belittle it. And I'm actually making a video myself after this about, you know, fight week, the weight cut, all that stuff. I want to quit every single day when it's fight week, just because the weight cut kills me. It's like, why do I do this to myself? And then I fight, and then after the fight, I'm like, I can't wait to do it again. So it's like, it's a weird give and take, but it's part of the sport. It's part of the journey.
You know, and people don't realize, they think a fighter is so tough, so strong, but fighters have their doubts just like anybody else, their own insecurities and their own feelings of, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe I can't do it. Maybe I won't win. All these doubts that go into your mind. I wanted to ask you as well, how impressed have you been with KHK MMA coming back and seeing just the parade of champions really in that group? I mean, we haven't even talked about guys like Murtaza Talha, beasts like that. I mean, for you to see everybody coming together, training as one, the closeness, the family, and the talent from you beginning with KHK originally, I mean, to be now, what has that shown you?
Man, they have so many young guys coming up. Obviously, part of Brave, this is like their feeder program. KHK is helping guys, whether they're gold medalists, silver medalists, bronze, or just people who've competed in the IMUF. And the IMUF's a great promotion because, one, it's helped build me, it's helped give me the accolades that I have today. Right. Then you look at other people who follow my blueprint. You know, Mokaev and his opponent as well being another champ.
2016 champion for.
And it's one of those things that
King Hussein.
You know, IMUF really helps people, and Brave is taking those guys in and bringing them into KHK MMA, and they want to make the best fighters possible. Everyone loves fights, but when you see literally the best versus the best, that's why my event is called Super Fights, because you have so many multiple-time world champs and just world medalists saying, we fought some of the best in the world as the amateur. Now we're facing each other in the pro realms. It's like boxing back in the day when you have two gold medalists fighting each other. It's like Lomachenko versus Rigondeaux. How popular was that fight? Because people were like, that's never happened before. Two-time gold medalists fighting each other. Right. And now in the professional realm, and then you have one guy who dominates the other. That might happen against Mokaev. That might happen against, you know, Abdul Hussein. You never know who might win that fight. And that's to me, besides mine, is the most exciting fight in the card. And it's not me jumping on Mokaev because he's my KHK teammate. It's just as a fan, I understand how hard it is to win these world championships. I know how hard it is to win it twice. So KHK MMA bring these guys in. Some of them weren't even medalists, and I'm going against them in practice. I'm like, who is this guy? Like,
right.
So what medal do you take? He goes, oh, I never competed in IMUF. It's like, dude, you're great. Like, please show me this. And he's like, oh, I'm 20 years old. I'm like, I'm 28, but you're still teaching me stuff. Please show me the position. Show me this. And even though there's language barriers, even though they're from different countries, the respect, the camaraderie, everyone's under the same bubble going, we're all trying to be in the best of the world. There's no Dagestan versus USA. There's no, country versus country. We're all humans under the sun, and we're all helping each other, trying to be the best MMA fighters in the world.
And I know, talking to Mokaev myself, I said, how is it training with Shorty? And he's like, man, it's been amazing. I've really, really enjoyed it. So you giving him like lit a fire in him as well as him doing it with you. Yeah. So it's amazing how that works that way.
I get this. So the first week I get here, we have sparring. And we have sparring, and I bested him that day. And I'm like, you know what? It's probably because I'm older, I'm more experienced, and I have grown man strength. When he won it, he was a 2-time junior champion, which was, I believe, the bracket of 18 to 21 years old. These guys really haven't developed, grown man strength yet, and that really does play a factor, especially in the grappling realm. So I'm like, oh, I'm smarter and more experienced, and I'm definitely stronger. I hope I'm stronger at 28. And then the next week comes, and I'm starting to cut a little weight, and given that's my little excuse, but I'm like, man, he kind of beat me up that first round. All right, let me adapt a little bit, and then I beat him up the second round, and I'm like, okay, hey, man, dude, you adapted really well. Like, good for you. Like, you're starting to pick my nuances very, very fast. And then this was my last day of sparring, so this is like, I'm tired. And I'm like, all right, I already know what he does. I just have to adapt. And he's been filming our sparring sessions. So he literally studied it over and over and over again. And I think a minute in, he just head kicked me. And I remember doing the whole Rush Hour 2 thing of Chris Tucker, like, who kicked me? And I looked at Eldar, I was like, you kicked me, man? And we just kept on going. And I'm like, man, this kid's beating me up. And I'm like, all right, second round, like, all right, I'm going to get back. I'm a slow starter. And he still beat me up. And I'm like, dude, good. And he comes up to me after with nothing but respect. He goes, oh, did I do better today? Like, what do I need to do? I was like, you tell me what I need to do. Like, I'm swallowing my pride here because you beat me up today. There's no ego when it comes to training because it's sparring, it's training, who cares? But we're teammates, we're supposed to make each other better. Yeah, the internet always goes, oh, Mokaev versus Shorty, who would win, or this or that. We're teammates. And if we fight each other one day, inevitably that might happen. Right. But it's the fact of he's a growing young kid still. He's 20 years old. And given I'm 28, I can't really call him a kid. But it's the fact of he's so good. If I was 20 years old at his age, he would easily dominate me. And I say that with full respect and showing that these new generation kids are just an advancement to what I was. And that's always going to be, when he's 28, there's going to be a kid who's 20 who's going to be just as good as he was, if not better. And that's what I want to do. I want to help coach people. And Mokaev being there, especially after our sparring sessions, coming up to me and going, what did I do? This, it's like, you're doing something right, and that's one, being coachable and swallowing your ego. You're not going, oh, I'm a 2-time world champ, and I just beat up another 2-time world champ and rub it in his face. It's like, no, man. You come up to me even after beating me up and going, is there anything else I need to do to be that much better? It's like, hey, I'm swallowing my pride too. I'm like, thank you. Like, you're making me better by beating me up too. What can I do? And then we just help each other. So it's a big camaraderie family. Again, Dagestan, UK, all the countries he represents, myself being back in the States, like, we're all coming together, again, all humans under the sun, and helping each other. Eldar, Goro, all these guys. And it's been a really different camp out here, but because they have a different skill set, and it's been amazing.
And to combine that, I mean, this has been the first time that I've seen that you've come this early to a fight in the Kingdom of Bahrain or anywhere. Yeah. And how good does that feel to not have the jet lag, not be as tired?
Well, right? I'll say the hardest part is over, especially with me having to advance my weight cut originally for 57. I was like, oh, well, let me get the hard part over and done with instead of flying out fight week, being tired when I get in, and then now I still have to cut weight and I'm water loading and this and that. I did it for the last fight, and yeah, I made weight, but there's struggles with that. I'd rather be in my hotel, rest up a week if I have to take, and then now I can start get that ball rolling, snowball effect, and get back down the weight.
And talking about head coach Eldar Eldarov, he has just done an amazing job with the team. He's so selfless. You never hear about him bragging about the team or anything else. He's one of the most humble men I've ever met in my life, and just a leader through and through. He is a guy you want to follow into battle and be side by side with him in a war.
And that's why I want him in my corner, because he's such a humble human being. He's hilarious. You know, honestly, he's like the Dagestani me, especially after fights. We gain so much weight, we have a blast. But it's the fact of we understand each other, you know, and especially training with him in 2015 with my coach, Master Bob Shermer. I remember throwing some of the Dagestani guys a few weeks ago, and he's like, "Combat dude." I'm like, "Yeah," you know, he remembers, you know, so he knows my style, and he also knows me mentally. When he knew I was gonna stop practicing and start cutting weight, he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna send someone to stay with you in the hotel." Great. I was like, "Why is that?" He goes, I know you mentally. I want you to stay happy. I want you to stay motivated, because when you're not having fun, you don't want to do this anymore." I was like, damn, you really do know me, and that's awesome, and that's why I wanted to stay here for 3 weeks. A coach is not there because he's technically sound. Yeah, that's part of it, but the other part is being able to motivate a fighter, knowing his ins and outs, and knowing in a fight if he's in danger or he's just having fun, or different ways to motivate him to get him back in that game, and Eldar can do that for me, and that's why he's in my corner for this fight.
And do you feel at 28 that you're just reaching, kind of getting to your prime, and the best Shorty is yet to come still?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many more years in my game, you know, possibly 10 more years depending on how everything goes.
Easily.
But I for sure have 4 in my prime. And the only hard part is, you know, COVID and trying to figure out these fights. Hopefully, and everything's slowly starting to dwindle down with the vaccinations and this and that. Hopefully the travel bans go down and I'm able to travel and start fighting again and even start commentating. Brave, help me out. But it's the fact of, you know, I just want to play. You know, especially training so much, sacrificing all my time away from my family, away from a relationship, away from just life in general. I want to be able to make it worth it and fight. And Brave's given me every opportunity. Just, you know, COVID in the world, it's an unfair share of circumstances sometimes. But being able to have coaches whenever I need, whether it's in Cage MMA, my coach Dean Thomas, Master Bob Shermer, wherever I go, being able to contact Brave and figure things out to see if I can fight here or fight there. And everything, Brave's been taking care of me, Sheikh Khaled's been taking care of me, and just being able to fight, play, and show my skill. Now at 28, entering my prime, it's like, what is there to come next? I was a two-time champion at IMUF, 2 weight class champion, and multiple time defending in my last promotion.
Right.
I want to be a 2-time champ and 2 division champ in Brave. But first come first, sadly, I wasn't able to fight Marcel Adair, so I have to take the harder route. The punishment is needed for me, and I really do take that in a prideful sense. And I wanted to take a harder fight with the last-minute opponent, with Blaine O'Driscoll. So it's like, I need to push the pace, and I want to show the world that no matter what's in front of me, COVID, a different opponent, no training camp, bad weight, whatever the case may be, whatever excuse people want to put out there, it's what's given to me. It's possibly an unfair circumstances, but it's nothing I can control. So let's stay mentally strong. Let's stay motivated, have fun, push through, and let's see what happens next, because time's not guaranteed. Yep. Tomorrow is possibly not there. So let's enjoy the battle, see what happens next. And if it works, awesome. If it doesn't, at least I can say I tried my best compared to saying woulda, shoulda, coulda, which I've done multiple times before and I never want to do again.
You know, and getting back to Sheikh Khaled, about just the impact that he's made on so many lives. He's the greatest leader that I've ever witnessed in my life, but he has shown, even during a pandemic, that he's going to keep his fighters busy. Mm-hmm. He's going to keep you earning your living and doing what you love. How important is that to you? You've been in so many different organizations, but to be in an organization where you truly feel like a family and truly feel loved, that has to be an amazing feeling for you. And you've been, and you can relate to other fighters who are youngsters coming up, and they feel just like a number in an organization where they're not being branded, they're not being marketed, right? There's no care if they're injured. They just need them to show up and fight.
Oh, my last promotion, I wasn't respected, and that's why I wanted to be signed to Brave. People ask me, why don't you sign to this one or that one or this one, the more popular one, should I say? Because Brave is still fairly brand new, and I'm like, because of the respect. Right. I don't want to go somewhere. I'm a businessman as well. I'm a partner. Right. You know, I'm not going into a business going like, hey, just call me when you need me, and I'm just going to take your money. No, that's not respect. You know, I'm a very genuine person, so it's like, if you help me, I want to be able to help you twice as much as I can, because I just appreciate it in general. So Brave's doing that with all the different things, whether my father passing this and that. And with Sheikh Khaled, I mean, I've known him since 2015. He's given me the opportunity of a lifetime to sign with Cage MMA, to eventually sign with Brave. And now having these title shots in this tournament has been phenomenal. I mean, he helped me when my father passed. You know, he was always calling me. Him and I text almost like twice, 3 times a week about different fights and who do you think's gonna win and this and that. And
he gets back to you right away.
Oh yeah, and he doesn't have to. Again,
right?
he is a prince. He's a sheikh. He's royalty. And he's talking in a sense to an average Joe, and it's like, you know, another shorty from the neighborhood. I never thought as a child that I'd be talking to royalty and then be respected by royalty. Like, I don't see him as a friend. I see him as a brother because he really does care for me that much, and I care for him that much. You know, especially when my father passed, he helped me when I needed it most, and it's like, I'm here for you. Like, anything you need, I am here for you. And it's not as a servant. It's not as like, oh, you gave me this, I'm going to give you this back. No, right. He's like, I want to help you. He doesn't need to help people. He wants to help people. And he goes out of his way to do that. And he's contacting me out of his way going, hey, how are you mentally? How's this? How is that? And it's like, dude, that's awesome. I know you're busy. You have Prince level, which I can never understand, Prince level stuff that you have to do, whatever that may be. And he's a very smart individual. And I know, talking to him personally so many times, just his insights on fighting and just MMA and training and all that stuff, I'm like, you're nowhere near as experienced as I am when it comes to inside the cage, but mentally outside as a coach perspective, you know the game. This is
so wise.
It's crazy, you know, and for what he's doing, bringing not just Bahrain on the map, but bringing guys from Dagestan, France, UK, different countries, and going, I want to give you an opportunity. I want to give you an opportunity. I want to give you an opportunity because you're all genuine people. And all the guys in Cage MMA, they're not egotistical. No. They're not these cocky individuals going like, divas. And they're like, everyone wants to help each other. And I think that is the best thing. And I've seen him have guys in the team that were cocky, and he's like, you're out. I'm sorry, man. You're not part of what I want. I want people to help each other. If you're not going to help each other and you're too selfish, get out. I'm sorry. And he changes the game, man. And I owe him so much.
A little story for myself of how deeply Sheikh Khalid cares about everyone is a few years back he asked me if my daughter could see. My daughter's blind. And I said, no, Your Highness. And then a couple of years later he asked me again, hey, Carlos, how's your daughter doing? And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. You know, he's asking me personally about my daughter. He knows my family. He's interested. And I said, Your Highness, no, she can't see still. And he said, I want to help. Mm-hmm. And I was blown away to the point of where tears started rolling down my face. And sure enough, he called his doctor over. They're looking at clinics to send my daughter for either stem cell or non-invasive, but the best in the world to give my daughter vision, which I could never afford on my own. I could never do on my own. And it's the greatest act of human kindness I've ever seen in my life. And I personally would die for this man. I mean, and that's me as his cage announcer and the voice of Brave. Yeah. But that's how much, to relate to Brave Nation, how much impact he has on our lives. It's incredible, and I can't even put it into words.
The craziest thing is that he doesn't have to do it. You know, like he has the money, sure, and that's awesome, but he doesn't have to do it.
No.
He can do whatever he wants, so him not just reaching out, which is amazing, but going, it's not just about you, it's about your family. I want to make sure you're happy. So when you come to these events, you're blowing up the show and you're doing a phenomenal job and this and that. Like, he cares for you guys. And all the guys a part of Brave we're a family. No one, and I've texted him multiple times, like, hey, what's up, my friend? He's like, stop calling me your friend. I'm your brother. It's always, hey, what's up, brother? What's up? Please tell me, brother. And
that's amazing.
Like, especially after my father's passing, I'm like, dude, you're my brother. I appreciate it. Anything you need, anything, I'm more than happy.
And like you said, 99.9% of the things he does, no one knows about because he doesn't talk about it at all. He is the most selfless man as well. He doesn't want it in the headlines or in the paper of what he's doing. He just wants that brotherhood of family and taking care of each other, and it goes from top to bottom in the organization. So a huge shout out to our leader, the great Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa. What would you say in closing is you said you in your mind you have a 4-year great run, you think, of in your prime, 4 to 5, 6 years, 7.
Fingers crossed. It depends. Flyweights, you know, you look at boxing, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, a small fighter, you know, at 32, people were like, oh, he's done. And they're like, 32, technically he's in your prime, but flyweights, we take so much damage because we punch so much more, we're so much action, we take more damage than the heavyweights because heavyweights, you don't have to cut weight, one shot ends a fight, and then you come back at it. We take a toll on our body, so it just depends on how my fights go.
So your immediate goal within those 4 to 5 years is a double champ within Brave
Definitely.
Combat Federation?
Yeah. That's my immediate goal, and then obviously see what happens next. I wanted to fight Stephen Lohman. Sadly, he went on to a different promotion, but it is what it is. Right. If he comes back, awesome. If he doesn't, then hopefully after this flyweight tournament, everything goes well, I bump up, because I do naturally, as I do get older, my metabolism is going to slow down. I don't want to focus on cutting weight. I want to focus on fighting. I want to bump up eventually and be that dominant two-weight class champ. But until then, I have flyweight aspirations that I still want to finish and accomplish. And first is Blaine O'Driscoll. And
the youngsters out there that are looking up to you and seeing the path that you've taken, what advice do you have for them? I've talked to you before in that, you're here in this situation because as well, we're both very fortunate, but as well, you've earned these accolades and to be here too. A young guy who, say, is struggling to make it and is getting some sponsorships, but maybe they aren't the best sponsorships. Maybe they're a little bit unethical or lack a little bit of integrity. You always have believed in yourself and kept that standard high for yourself. So what advice would you give young fighters today that are trying to get to your level?
Man, I've definitely tried my best to believe in myself, and there's times, man, there's some dark places sometimes, but it's the fact of I've learned, especially now rekindling my relationship with just myself, really, COVID, you spent nothing but time with yourself because of the quarantine and all that. You really start to focus on what's been important in your life. You start to focus on like, this is good, this is bad, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore, or man, I'm a very big extrovert, so I need people in my life. So for me, it's finding the fun back in something. If it's not fun, like when you're a kid and your teacher tells you, what do you want to do when you get older? It's like, oh, I want to do this. And it's like, is it fun though? Because if it's fun, it's not work. It's like you're just going out there to play. But if it's work, then now you're working for the rest of your life. It's not fun. Now it's dreading. Now you're waking up every day 9 to 5, and you don't want to do this anymore compared to people who work a 9 to 5 and they enjoy themselves. So especially in MMA, a sport that can end tomorrow, enjoy it while you can. Have fun to the fullest and try your best, because one, I've learned in different sports, especially in like football, for the kids who were scared to get hit, they would always like shell up and then they get demolished, and it's like, you were scared, that's why you got hurt, you got tense. Right. But when you're loose, like water, that whole Bruce Lee method, when you're loose and you actually tried to go at it, now you're hurting them. Now you're actually like, wow, I did this big collision and I feel perfectly fine. I can do it again. Wow, I wasn't hurt at all. So it's the fact of trying and staying motivated. When you try, worst comes to worst, even if you're not the better man. Cool.
You know in your heart that you've given it your all.
You gave it your all. And I've had fights, sadly, my first amateur loss, my first pro loss, it's the fact of, and even my last fight that was a draw, it's like there's always that woulda, shoulda, coulda, because I didn't try my best. And that's the hardest thing that I'll never be able to get back. But as long as I teach myself to try my best in the next one and have fun while doing it, and that's my motivation. Everyone has to find their own. My motivation's cartoons, animes, and all that like stuff, and that's why I wear my gear, to keep me smiling, to keep me motivated, because I want to have fun, and that's going to keep me trying my best. So no matter what's happening in the world, it's never too late to try. No matter what's going on, understand that there's some things you just can't control, and don't blame yourself for it. If you're not that skilled, okay, cool, work on your technique. Technique will prevail over skill. Right. If you get tired, work on your conditioning, find different things, ask for help, swallow your ego, swallow your pride, and be open to the world and just have fun, be coachable, and do your thing, and just remember, try your best.
Shorty Torres, incredible interview again. Thank you for your time. Look for him in his super fight coming up this Thursday. That's right, Brave 49. What an incredible run we've had. 4 events in 21 days, culminating with Brave 50. And you and I were there for Brave 1. And now you're going to be back in the booth for Brave 50.
Yeah.
So I know for myself, Phil Campbell, Kirk Janess, we're all excited about having Shorty back in the booth with us. And ladies and gentlemen of Brave Nation, tip your cap to Shorty. He's a leader, and he is a man on a mission to not only help himself, but lead the way and show it all that it can be done. Thank you, Brave Nation.